Breaking news, Liverpool fans and greater football fans as a whole. Maybe not the best news if you're a neutral, but a massive, massive, massive story. Alexander Isak has apparently informed Newcastle that he wants to explore his options this summer. That's according to Craig Hope of the Daily Mail. He told Newcastle he wants 300K a week, as revealed on Talk Sport last week. That's all per Ben Jacobs. And Liverpool just signed Ekitike. And I'd want to hear what you guys have to say about this deal because this feels like it could just be the deal to end all deals in the sense that there's so much potential in this Liverpool squad. If they add Isak on top of it, that it's crazy. It seems like an improbable, impossible thing. But especially with this news, the timing of it, the fact that he hasn't traveled to, I believe, Singapore to be at the preseason tour with Newcastle. And now this comes out the day after Ekitike signs for Liverpool instead of Newcastle. And I just feel like it's an inevitability right now. I feel like it's an inevitable thing that is almost sure to happen. I mean, there's more reporting that I'll get to, but all of it kind of points to Liverpool. Ben Jacobs has been continuing to report about this, how Bayern's new bid for Luis Diaz is expected imminently as well, because that's a piece in this. You know, if Diaz goes and Nunez goes, you have more than enough money for Isak, more than likely, and for more kind of stuff down the line, possibly Yehi, possibly Rodrigo. Who knows? Liverpool has just been spending like John W. Henry's lost his checkbook, and I'm totally fine with that as a fan, but I could imagine that neutrals are pissed. Newcastle are exploring Yona Visa and Lois Openda as alternate options to replace Isak should he decide not to stay, which I mean, he's basically said he doesn't want to stay. It's just, I as a Liverpool fan, I could feel the pain of Newcastle fans. I've experienced this with Coutinho, with Suarez. The way it goes down, it always feels a little bitter. But, he's a player at the top of his powers, and there's more news around it. Basically, within the last hour, Chelsea won't enter the race, according to Ben Jacobs. They're content with Pedro, Delap, Jackson, and they're working on Xavi Simons. So for them, they probably feel like, we're kind of all good here. We don't want to go and make this huge money signing that they probably couldn't afford in the same way that Liverpool can. Not to, brag or anything. It's just the current setup for Chelsea, the fact that they haven't had consistent Champions League football for a while. They did win the Club World Cup, which is a lot of money, but they're basically saying, they know their names often used to drive up prices and they refuse to be used as an auction tool. They're more interested in Xavi Simons, Garnacho, and Morgan Rogers. So that's the profile player Chelsea's going after. But with Liverpool getting Ekitike, who's a very similar profile to Isak, and then getting Isak, which is what Newcastle wanted, it just kind of reinvents the whole approach for how they could attack. They could play in a 4-3-3 more traditionally. It could be more of like a 4-2-2 or a 4-2-4. Who knows? But now 2 minutes ago, Manchester United never in the race for Isak and no plans to bid. So it's they're whittling it down. It just feels like every report I'm seeing, Romano's reported on and out too. But everything that Ben Jacobs is breaking is basically pointing to the direction of Anfield. Where does he fit? I mean, is it going to be Isak and Ekitike alongside another? Is it going to be just a rotation of everything? Like, how's it going to go? I'm excited to see, but I'm just flabbergasted, really. Like, I'm in a spot where I just can't believe that this is a possibility still. The fact that it could likely happen when the next, before the first day of the season, that could be a very fun kind of look for Liverpool. I mean, someone's not going to be starting, but if Diaz and Nunez go, that leaves you with Gakpo through the front line, Ekitike and Isak fighting for the 9 spot. Still without probably another left winger, unless, uh, some of the youth prospects kind of have impressed Arne Slot at preseason so far, whether it's Doak or Rio. Um, Either one of them, it could add a level of rotation, I guess. But oftentimes we don't see that kind of level of rotation in a squad like this. Maybe they do take those next steps, but I just feel like it's a little light on both wings. If you go for Isak and Ekitike, I'm still super down for Liverpool to sign Isak, especially because he has played kind of down that left channel at times, not as a left winger, but as a striker that comes in through that left side. Ekitike is similar. Gakpo, he's more of a traditional left winger, so I would imagine, especially with the Dutch connection, he'll be there for Arne pretty continuously. And then you got Wirtz, you got McAllister, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, Endo in the midfield, Jones as well. Harvey Elliott, we don't know if he's going to stay, if he's going to go. If he goes, that's possibly more money for an addition to the squad. Will it be Guehi? Will it be Rodrigo? Will it be Malik Fofana, who's been linked? It's just a lot as a fan to monitor and track, but it's all very exciting. As a neutral, I would imagine that this just kind of feels like a gut punch, because I'd basically given up on Isak signing when Ekitike signed. I knew it was a possibility still, but it's just one of those things that you can't fully process because it feels so ridiculous to say out loud, but it also feels like very much the right move to make. Getting him would just elevate that front line to a whole different degree. You'd have 3 of the best, goals and assists contributors in their positions in the top 5, top 3 leagues in the world with Wirtz, Salah, Isak. You're adding Frimpong, who gets a lot of goal contributions. You got Kirkej, who can get on, who's scored and assisted tons. McAllister is still creative. Szoboszlai could score and assist. You're getting contributions in the aggregate through every position, but everyone can really do a little bit of both. It's very Dutch. It seems like the approach, total football approach for Arne Slot, because we have fullbacks who can attack, but forwards who all feel very much like they can, in possession, do a bit of both. Forwards and midfielders, they can attack, they can defend, they could assist. They all feel like players that just kind of, no pun intended, slot right into one another. So it feels like at this point in time, it's more than likely that Isak will get his switch to Liverpool. Gyökeres to Arsenal, Liverpool getting Isak. These are big, big moves that are going to have massive repercussions throughout the whole season. I think both teams need this kind of addition. And now, really, it's like you have so many strikers who are going to be their kind of talisman for their club for the season going forward. I mean, you look at Haaland, Isak, Gyökeres, Chelsea. I mean, they have the lap, or they have Pedro competing for that 9 spot more than likely. It just, it feels like a revitalization of the Premier League in a way. Not probably in a way that most neutrals would like, but it's like a real arms race. It's insane the level of spending we're seeing, but as a fan of the Premier League, I'm always excited by it. And I just don't know where Liverpool go from here. I think the most likely situation if they do go and sign Isak is Nunez and Diaz leave. Once if they were to leave, you'd probably get Isak in that period of time, either before or after. So you get Isak, you get Gehi. Do you get another winger? Is Rodrigo too expensive then? Do you just go and get Malik Fofana, who also looks like a really enticing prospect who could add a lot to the wing options? I don't know. I genuinely don't know, because whatever seems a little like, I guess, out of reach for the Liverpool of like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it feels like something that's kind of like inevitable. Like if Liverpool wants to get that done, they could kind of get it done. And obviously the amount of money that's been spent, I think the whole, it's like well over 300 million if they sign Isak. But there's also the fact that you're getting, that was like, that 300 million was kind of there going in. And then you sell players. You've already sold Kwanzaa. You sell Nunez, Diaz, possibly Elliott. That's getting you somewhere in the ballpark of like 140, 150. So basically you're covering Isak, and then you could go and possibly get another center back, another wide option, maybe another attacking kind of reinforcement. I think that's basically the window. I would be shocked if they do anything beyond that, but I wouldn't rule it out either, because it's just been so unpredictable. I'm very thrilled to see Isak more than likely joining Liverpool. If it doesn't go through at this point, at least there's still like, like I don't see Newcastle wanting to keep him. I don't like, he's said that it's going to drive down his price more than likely regardless, because he's voicing his interest. And now he gets to kind of have the leverage of, well, Chelsea's not in for him, Man United's not in for him, he's not interested in Saudi. It just leaves only Liverpool then. And they could get that bag, but then sides like Brentford or Leipzig will be like, well, you want Yona Visa, you want Lois Openda? Well, you got 120, 150 mil. We want 60. We want 70. And then you're kind of looking at a deal where you're like we saw what Leipzig did with Benjamin Šeško, saying 100 mil to Arsenal. You kind of look at that and it's like, damn, they're in a spot where they have to kind of get rid of him to get funds to bring in different players to kind of take a new step in a new direction. I think Newcastle could be in a totally great spot should they keep, say, Gordon, add Openda, add another 1-2 players. And I don't know if they'd be guaranteed to get Champions League, but at least they would kind of reinvest in the squad. They'd be able to go and spend more. But even still, like, it's a gutting experience when a player puts in a transfer request. It's, as a Liverpool fan, I'm thrilled to see it, but as someone who's basically gone through the whole, well, it's an injury, well, I want to move away, like with Coutinho, I get the strife from it, but you look at that deal and it did wonders for Liverpool. They reinvested wonderfully, and I mean, it is all chance in the transfer market, in the transfer window. And for someone like Isak, like it could go great. It could go not as great. But all signs are kind of pointing to a totally unbelievably dominant performance from Liverpool this season. That's the energy they want to carry. That's how they want to kind of progress into the season as champions, continuing onward. I'm all here for it, but as a rival, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, because I imagine it's not the easiest sell to kind of see this go down and be like okay with it. As a Newcastle fan, it must be gutting. That's all I could imagine. Like it's just got to feel really annoying to some extent. But at the same time, like, he's a star player. He's like a total star player. It's not the first time it's happened. And let's be real, like, sure, it's Liverpool now, but it was United before, it was City before, it was Chelsea at a time. There's just usually the team that's the best in England that has the most kind of money at their disposal. They become the prime destination, especially with someone like Slot, who I think is pitching these guys a vision that he genuinely believes in, he sees, and then they get convinced of too. And you're kind of like looking at it from a bigger image, you know, where it's like, you know, everybody is basically just looking out to have their best interests. And you cultivate that. It takes a long time to have like the best vibes, but I think the foundation that Klopp's laid, the success that Arne Slot's had, the actual genuine like belief and backing of Liverpool, not just as Edwards and Hughes, but as like a whole organization, it seems like they're all in on capitalizing on this momentum. And what bigger way to capitalize than to get Alexander Isak? You're getting one of the best strikers in all of Europe for an insane fee. But it's a fee that I think will pay itself back a few times over if things go well, which, if that happens, I mean, you're looking at continuation of that, like probably next summer. Not maybe at the same like level of spending, but like that kind of squad overhaul, overturn, bringing in the best quality to play alongside the best quality. It just becomes more of a likely chance season through season. And I think with where Liverpool's at right now, this would be the perfect signing. So I'd love to hear what you have to say. Let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe if you're new. Like if you enjoyed. I'm Sideline Sedo. Peace.